The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shirley. Welcome to 15 Minutes of F.A.B, a segment of the Forever F.A.B podcast where I review products, services, experiences, and frankly, whatever, in 15 minutes or less. If the full-length podcast is a couture dress, for example, then 15 Minutes of F.A.B is like a button-down French cuff white shirt paired with leather leggings. If you don't have time to tune into the full-length podcast, then check out 15 Minutes of F.A.B, just a small dose. Some have considered it truth and beauty or plastic surgery secrets or as a nerdy or academic take on wellness and beauty with a dash of fashion. Consider it what you may. My aim is to engage you as a credible and authoritative voice in most, if not all, aspects of beauty and wellness with a dash of fashion. That includes products, wellness services, technologies, innovations, new scientific research, and plastic surgery. As the founder of Holistic Plastic Surgery, my approach to beauty is through a lens of wellness that's grounded in science, backed by medical study and research, strengthened by my clinical experience, and bolstered by my surgical training with the use of principles and techniques of plastic surgery. And then there's my love of fashion, of course. I feel uniquely qualified to talk with you about beauty, wellness, aesthetics, and plastic surgery, as well as products and services within those spaces, not only because of my extensive, and may I add expensive training and expansive background, but also because I'm one of you. Many of the human issues around aging and being a fierce fab person, as well as an agent for positive change, I live these too, and I try. You're not alone. So together we can help the world become a more beautiful, forever fab place. So if you'll have me and give me at least 15 minutes of your time, let's get at it. In this new year, I've decided that it will be one of expansion and discovery. So I'll explore all sorts of topics, near and possibly far-fetched, while still focusing on the topics that make the Forever Fab podcast, well, fabulous, namely fashion, the art of living well or wellness, and beauty. As part of my philosophy of holistic plastic surgery, which I created well over probably now 15 years ago, where I believe that beauty emanates from within, wellness plays an integral role in my practice. And this goes for many aspects of life that help you to live in grace and beauty, including nutrition, exercise, products, services, technologies, mind, body, spirit, and science. The title of this week's episode of 15 Minutes of F.A.B on the Forever F.A.B podcast is Love You Long Time, Healthy Tips for Longevity, Part 2. So the topic is about longevity hacks. In case you missed it, last week on 15 Minutes of F.A.B on the Forever F.A.B podcast, I introduced the topic of longevity and what it affects, or what affects it. Did you know that the average life expectancy to date for men and women in the United States is 77.2 years? Many factors affect how long you live. These include, but are not limited to, your age, genetics, epigenetics, lifestyle, gender, access to health care, diet or nutrition, access to clean food, access to clean water, access to education, exercise, environment, crime, education, social support, socioeconomic status, and so much more. According to the Healthy Longevity Clinic, quote, The definition of longevity is living a longer and healthier life. It means how long a person is going to live and how healthy his later life or her later life will be. You can also understand the term longevity as the description of the state when a person lives beyond their average life expectancy, end quote. Another often cited reference is made to those communities who experience an extended lifespan. They're the populations living in what's called the blue zones. According to bluezones.com, quote, the term blue zones was first coined by Dan Buettner, a National Geographic explorer and journalist, during an exploratory project he led in 2004. After an expedition to Okinawa, Japan in 2000 to investigate the longevity there, he set out to explore other regions of the world with reportedly high longevity. With the support of National Geographic, Buettner and his team of scientists and demographers traveled the world in search of communities where people lived not only longer, but also enjoyed a high quality of life in their old age. After analyzing demographic data and interviewing numerous centenarians, they identified 5 regions that stood out for their extraordinary longevity and vitality, end quote. These are the places around the world where the healthiest people live, and not only do they live longer, but they live healthier and happier. But what if you don't live in one of these blue zones? I certainly don't. So what do you do if you want to enjoy a longer, healthier, happy life? In today's 15 Minutes of F.A.B episode, I'll talk about some scientifically proven hacks that have been shown to help extend your life. But first, the bad news. Let's review what may decrease your longevity. In general, it's well known that genetics may contribute to a reduced lifespan. But there is hope. Nevertheless, the lifestyle choices you make also have an effect on your longevity. If you choose to engage in any of the following activities, you may be taking years off your life. Inadequate sleep, too much sleep, lack of social interaction, excessive worrying or too much anxiety, not reading enough, so sit with a good book once in a while, like I do, not flossing. Oh, your dentist will be happy about that. But as it turns out, not flossing leads to gum disease, and that gum disease is linked to heart disease and kidney failure. Who knew? Long commutes. The long commutes reducing your longevity mostly affects women. Lack of exercise, inactivity, sitting too much, an unhealthy diet, lack of social support, loneliness, unmanaged stress, a pessimistic outlook, smoking, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and so much more. Now that you know what reduces life expectancy, here's the good news. There are some things that may benefit your longevity and help you to live a longer and healthier life. Yes, a more beautiful life is within your reach. Quote, researchers from Harvard University looked at factors that might increase the chances of a longer life. Using data collected from men and women from the Nurses' Health Study and Health Professionals' Follow-Up Study, who were followed for up to 34 years, researchers identified 5 low-risk lifestyle factors. Number 1, a healthy diet. Number 2, regular exercise, meaning at least 30 minutes daily of moderate to vigorous activity. Number 3, healthy weight, as defined by a body mass index of 18.5 to 24.9. But as we now know, the BMI, or the body mass index, is not exactly the most accurate and is apparently biased. Number 4, no smoking. And number 5, moderate alcohol intake, meaning up to 1 drink daily for women and up to 2 daily for men. Compared with those who did not incorporate any of these lifestyle factors, the Harvard University researchers found that those with all 5 factors lived up to 14 years longer, end quote. But wait, there's more. You can also choose to incorporate the following steps in your life for potentially longer lifespan. And I'll give you a few more that add up to 15 fabulous tips, another Fab 15 for you. Continuing on, number 6, having a strong sense of purpose in your daily life. Number 7, have strong social interactions. Avoid loneliness. Number 8, Use your brain. Exercise your brain by learning something new every day. Number 9, get good quality sleep. What's your chronotype? Meaning, what's your body's natural preference for sleeping and waking up? Number 10, diet using intermittent fasting or some form of caloric restriction. 11, manage stress effectively and frequently. 12, be good to yourself. Practice self-care. 13, prioritize your happiness to avoid chronic low moods. Listen, low moods, bad times, that's normal. It's natural. It happens. But do your best to prioritize your happiness and get yourself out of that funk as frequently and consistently as possible. 14, be more conscientious, organized, and disciplined. It actually leads to less stress. And Fab 15, practice mindfulness. There is a deep mind-body connection. Find yours during meditation or pensive walks in nature. Dr. Peter Attia, or Attia, is a Stanford, Johns Hopkins, NIH, or National Institutes of Health trained physician. He is a leading expert on longevity, as well as host of the podcast, The Drive. I'd love to have him on my podcast someday. I'm really excited for this season, so wait for it. Anyway, Dr. Attia defines 2 aspects of living longer: lifespan, meaning how long we live, and health span, meaning how well we live. According to his website, quote, his approach focuses on increasing lifespan or delaying the onset of chronic disease while simultaneously improving health span or the quality of life, end quote. He refers to something called squaring the longevity curve by doing the work. Improved length and quality of life, those are not one supplement, one smoothie, or one great workout away, as he mentions. You must optimize several variables, including nutrition, sleep, exercise, body fat composition, blood pressure, and so much more. It sounds like a lot, and in fact it is. But you can live a more beautiful life should you choose to. Take it 1 or 2 steps at a time, but just start. Start with the simplest and most accessible thing for you. What one thing can you start today to begin your next level longevity journey? Perhaps you may bring to mind my Fab 5 tips for living your most beautiful life, and start there. Number 1, the first rule of beauty and a beautiful life is good nutrition. The second rule, adequate daily hydration. The third, consistent, restful sleep. 4, frequent and effective stress management. And 5, mind, body, and soul nourishment and protection with social support, purpose-driven living, and learning something new every day. This concludes this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast. As always, stay beautiful and forever fabulous for a very long time, inside and out. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode of 15 Minutes of Fab. Until next time, live well, prosper, and stay beautiful, inside and out, and stay forever fab. If you like this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast, please share it and subscribe to the feed. Did you learn anything new? Review this episode by writing just 1 word to describe the value you got from listening today, and give this episode a 5-star rating. In case you missed it, listen to this episode, past episodes, or check out who's coming up next on foreverfabpodcast.com. If you enjoyed listening to the Forever Fab podcast, get more audio and more visuals with a membership through Patreon. Choose the gold, platinum, or diamond tier for premium added content, special co-hosts, lifestyle videos, branded merchandise, and more by visiting patreon.com/foreverfab. And if you are a founder of or represent a beauty or wellness brand, and you want to be featured on an episode of Forever Fab podcast segment of 15 Minutes of Fab, send me some stuff. Visit foreverfabpodcast.com and fill out the contact form. For general holistic beauty tips or to get set up an appointment with me to discuss your personalized options for leveling up your beauty, go to elementsandgraces.com and sign up for my newsletter. And for For an online e-consultation on time, anytime, and on your time, visit clicklift.com for your wellness, plastic surgery, and beauty questions on the go. And it's time for the elevated house call, wouldn't you say? Jet Set Beauty RX offers beauty on-call services near your home or other domicile, delivering beauty in the privacy of a medically equipped, state-of-the-art mobile aesthetics unit. Reserve at jetsetbeautyrx.com. That's all for now. Thank you for sharing the love. Goodbye, gorgeous.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.